This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. Impeaching Donald Trump? No way, and here is why. Now that's the provocative title, some would say, of today's program, but I am going to show you as to why this title accurately reflects as to what is going to happen. Let me first of all begin this ongoing saga with quoting from an article by the Associated Press dated September 20, saying this: President Donald Trump urged the new leader of Ukraine, Zelenskiy, this summer during a phone conversation to investigate the son of former Vice President Joe Biden. It was the latest revelation in an escalating controversy that has created a showdown between congressional Democrats and the Trump administration. Now that introduction is already subject to interpretation, because whether Donald Trump urged the leader or suggested to the leader to do that is an open question. In any event, the Wall Street Journal reported that over the course of the call, Trump encouraged Ukraine's new leader, Zelenskiy, 8 times to work with Guyani on an investigation into the Bidens. A transcript of that phone conversation was released, and that doesn't support that allegation. In fact, Biden is only expressly mentioned twice in the entire conversation as transcribed, and Biden's son is only mentioned once. But you see, the Daily Mail also talked about the fact that Biden may be in trouble. On September 23, they wrote, in 2014, Biden's son Hunter was hired to sit on the board of a Ukrainian gas company. Trump has urged reporters to look into Biden's comments in early 2016, when the then vice president said the Obama administration would freeze $1 billion in American loan guarantees unless Kiev fired its top prosecutor, who was looking into the gas company. On Saturday, the former Vice President Biden said he never speaks to his son about his overseas business dealings. However, Hunter Biden said the opposite in an interview for a July article in the New Yorker. And so, subsequent to all of that, Vice President Pence stated in an interview with Fox on September 23 that while there was no evidence for a quid pro quo, I give you something, you give me something in return, during the dealings between Trump and Zelenskiy, there was allegedly much evidence of a quid pro quo regarding the dealings between Biden and the Ukrainian government. In fact, there is suspicion of a quid pro quo on both sides. That is regarding Biden and his son. For instance, Senator Rand Paul said Biden is the one who threatened Ukraine's aid, and that has to be investigated, as well as other Democratic senators who allegedly threatened to withhold aid to Ukraine unless Ukraine were to act in a particular way. But I have to say there is also concern regarding Trump. Because prior to his conversation with Zelenskiy, Trump had withheld money approved by Congress to be given to Ukraine, and in the released transcript of the phone conversation, statements are made which could be construed, notice carefully, could be construed, as an attempt of a quid pro quo arrangement. I have here this transcript of this phone conversation. It's about 5 pages long. What bothers me some is the fact that this is not a verbatim transcript. It says here it is a summary of notes and recollections of Situation Room duty officers and NSC policy staff assigned to listen and memorialize the conversation. But just judging based on this document, we have to state that it was actually not Trump, it was Zelenskiy who actually started with the following statement. I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next steps. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. Now, some say, well, this was based on the idea, well, you have to give us money and then we can buy those machines. And Trump responded by saying, I would like you to do us a favor. But then he's not talking about Biden. He's talking about something else. He's talking about CrowdStrike, which was an internet security company looking into perhaps Russian interference. It's actually headquartered in California, not in Ukraine. But allegedly and possibly it was also looking into what happened with Hillary Clinton's emails. But in any event, after he made that statement, then Zelenskiy gives a rather lengthy response. And only then the President Trump, responds by ultimately talking about Biden and his son. So it's a far-fetched concept to say, well, there was this very clear connection of a quid pro quo. But after that, here comes the whistleblower complaint. See, it all started with a whistleblower complaining about what he or she felt was inappropriate conduct by President Trump. Axios wrote on September 25, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff from California told reporters Wednesday after reviewing the Trump-Ukraine whistleblower complaint, and it was released to the public on Thursday. And of course, by that time, it says that the materials he viewed exposed serious wrongdoing. And other Democrats said the same thing, whereas Republicans disagreed with that. I do have here the whistleblower complaint. And what strikes me again as very curious is the fact that the whistleblower, who is not identified, admits in that complaint that he was never a witness to that phone conversation. He only heard it from others who allegedly had told him certain things. And some of what he says in the complaint doesn't necessarily match what's in the transcript. But in addition to that, he also alleges a few more other things. But again, it's all pretty much based on hearsay. It's not something he himself has heard or seen. Now, in a court of law, none of that which is in that whistleblower complaint would be admissible. It would be clearly totally inadmissible. But we are not dealing here with the law. We are not dealing here with a court of law. We are dealing here, as I will show you, with a political circus. And that is all what it is. And I will also show you that this whole circus will ultimately backfire on the Democrats. The Week, which is by no means a very pro-Trump institution magazine, they had this to say on September 24. On Tuesday evening, Nancy Pelosi made one of the most colossal blunders in the modern history of American electoral politics. She set aside her own instincts and announced the beginning of formal impeachment proceedings against President Trump. Well, all it does is they're going to look into things. There is no indictment made at all. But the article goes on to say Pelosi knows this will not be popular. She knows more than that. She knows that it will be a disaster for the Democratic Party, that it will inflame the president's base and inspire even his most lukewarm supporters with a sense of outrage. She knows that in states like Michigan, upon which her party's chances in 2020 will depend, the question of impeachment does not poll well. She knows further, and I found this very interesting, that Joe Biden will not be able to spend the next 14 or so months refusing to answer questions about the activities of his son Hunter in Ukraine, and that increased scrutiny of the vice president's record, the former vice president's record, in office will not redound to his credit. Remember what happened to Hillary Clinton when the suspicion, and it was actually more than just a suspicion, of her improper handling with emails and the sudden disappearance of those which were government emails on her private server, how that hang over her head like a Damocles sword. Now, it's interesting that she was never impeached, even though she could have been. Many say should have been. It's also interesting that Biden was never impeached, even though many say he could have or should have been. And maybe President Trump is correct when he said that in Washington, if you are a Democrat, you are automatically protected, but they are going after him. But as I said, this will backfire. Why will it backfire? Numerous reasons. But Deutsche Welle explains the process on September 24. It said, the founders of the United States gave Congress power to remove from office, and I quote, the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States, if the accused is convicted of, and I quote again, treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Close quote. Now, nobody knows what high crimes and misdemeanors means. And it is openly admitted. It has nothing to do with the law. It is what politics and politicians say it means. That's what it means. The article goes on to say, simply put, to impeach means to bring charges similar to an indictment in court. The House has the sole power of impeachment. The House debates and votes on whether to bring charges by a simple majority. Now, at this point, the Democrats would have the simple majority in the House, but it's still an open question as to whether all Democrats will vote for an impeachment when it comes to that, because they realize how unpopular an impeachment would be in the country. But let's just assume the House does do that. Well, how will it continue? The Senate has the sole power to try all impeachments, meaning that it has the power to convict. When the president is tried, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and you know who that is, right, presides over proceedings, and he is most certainly not a friend of Democrats. For the president to be removed from office, a 2/3 majority in the 100-seat Senate must vote to convict. If they do, the president must step down. In the case of Donald Trump, his Republican Party currently controls the Senate, making it highly unlikely he will be forced out. I mean, the Republicans would have to agree to it, and that is very highly unlikely. Now, it is true that Republicans haven't shown that much backbone when it comes to perhaps impeaching Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, but I would feel they would be too afraid to agree with the Democrats to impeach Donald Trump. I don't see that happening at all from a logical human standpoint. But it will also, if the Democrats go forward with an official impeachment charge, it will backfire on them, and it will greatly increase the chances for Donald Trump to be reelected. And we have been telling you from the outset, Donald Trump will be reelected in 2020. He will stay in power. He will not be forced to step down. And I'm saying this again today. All of this, what's happening right now, is not going to hurt him. It ultimately will help him. And the reason why I can say this so confidently is because it's prophesied. Certain prophecies will have to be fulfilled dealing with the future of the United States of America, and Donald Trump is critical in fulfilling those prophecies. He has a job to do. He was placed in office, he is in office, he will be continuing in office until he has fulfilled his job. If you want to know more about what the Bible says on this subject, please ask for our free booklet, The Fall and Rise of Britain and America. And I was dealing today with the future of America. Please ask for a free copy. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. This is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by The Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.